welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 153. I'm your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I have two beans on the line with me. Tonight we have Chewy. How's it going, mate?
Good, mate. Good to be back. How are you?
Very good, and yes, very glad to be back. And we also have Cracker. How's it going, Cracker?
Very well, thank you, buddy.
That's the way. We've seen quite a lot of each other over the past week.
So much.
The three of us were in the pool at one point, so yeah, we saw quite a bit of each other. That is for sure.
Whoa, hey.
Yes, we were all wearing clothes. Well, shorts. Yeah,
shorts, yeah. We had some semblance of clothing on. Yeah, it wasn't that kind of pool party, people.
No.
Magic Beans hot tub streams. Let's
Whoa,
go.
no. Oh, man.
No one wants to see that, Chewy. Pretty sure our wives don't even want to see that.
That's probably fair.
So, yes, we are back. We did miss a week last week, as we sort of mentioned on the previous podcast, that we were all going to be heading to Sydney. We had the regional championships up in Sydney, and us three, as well as Polywaffle and Paulson, or Infect Rules, all went up there and shared I wouldn't call it a house.
It was a humble abode.
The general reaction of everybody that came to visit was they would walk up the stairs and then just kind of look around and go, what is this place?
Yeah. It was like one of those cartoon characters where their eyes got progressively bigger and bigger until they're just like, what is going on?
So my wife Jen actually looked up the history of the place that we stayed at, and it was originally owned by Merrick Watts, as it, Merrick.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny.
He and his wife renovated it, and then Cherie Barber, who's from got a whole reno show, flipping properties thing, actually bought it off him in 2020 or something. So yeah, super fancy place. I think she might have worked on it with him or something, and then she bought it off him in the end. So
yeah, right. Yeah, it was like an old brick factory that had been...
it was a lollies. That was like a sweets factory back in the day, apparently, according to Google.
No wonder I was so comfortable there.
Yeah, the whole place was shaking. Yeah.
Yeah, but very nice house, and very, very good weekend. Had an absolute blast, and we'll be talking a fair bit about that tonight. One of the highlights from the weekend was actually spending some time with our illustrious sponsor, Pat. So we got to meet him. It's the first time I'd met him. You've met him before, haven't you, Chewy?
Yeah.
You've been to his...
Pat lives
to the bazaar,
adjacent to my where my parents are. So I have dropped in to see Pat on occasion, which is always lovely. But yeah, seeing him in the the magic arena, so to speak, was super fun.
Yeah, and he came over and spent some time with us, hung out, and did a vintage cube draft with us. So, yeah, that was pretty cool, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. But before we get into all that, we do need to shout out Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. So, Cracker, you can do the honours tonight.
Oh, I would love to. Josh and Pat's Facebook auction page, they have nightly auctions of all sorts of amazing magic cards. And they also do nightly buy it nows, where you just say sold, which Chewy was doing a bunch of while we were away. He's like, that seems like a good price. We've literally just spent 3 days hanging out with Pat, and it was sold. And you just buy some cards. You get them at really good rates because they're a full-time auction site. Their shipping is super quick and the packaging is excellent. You should go check out right now. They've got the Christmas bundles on. There's a couple of different types, and they are super good value. So go check them out, jpmtgbazaar.com.au, and you will get taken straight to the website, and you can check out what they've got going on. It's always great stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. The Christmas bundles, I think last year was the first year that Pat did those, and they were quite successful. And this year he's doing, the two different types. There's the $99 one, and then I think the other one's $199. But it's, good value, and would be a nice addition to put under the Christmas tree for any Magic playing person. So go and check them out. And when you buy a bundle or you win any of those auctions, make sure you tell Pat that the Beans sent you so that he continues his support of us next year, which we're hoping will
It's very soon.
Yes, next year. It is the 1st of December, and it does not feel like summer. I was wearing a jacket all day today. So
my kids were in the pool this afternoon. They don't care.
Yeah. I mean, my kids would be in the pool too, but I certainly wouldn't. It's got to be at least 28 degrees for me to get into a pool.
Yeah, that's fair.
We haven't had that for a while. Yep. All right, so this weekend, as we said, we were up in Sydney. So this was our regional championships. There's been a whole bunch of these going on. There was 3 or 4 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, whatever it is. Then there was, I think, 3 the same weekend as ours. And then there's a few more coming up this weekend, and then a couple sort of after that as well. I did actually see something today that the one in China's been delayed due to like more COVID restrictions in China. It sounds like things must still be pretty full on over there. But yeah, they're effectively sort of like the replacements of GPs. We've spoken about these a few times before, but it's a big full weekend event, and we've been talking about going to this thing effectively since it was announced, which was, 6 months ago, I think, somewhere around there. Yeah, and we were super excited. We had no idea what to expect in terms of turnout of players. We were, looking forward to meeting even just a couple of people was going to be pretty exciting for us. And it's fair to say there was a lot of people from the Beans community. How many you reckon there was, Chewy?
Over a dozen on at any given moment in the room, not including us. So
yes, yeah, a dozen beyond us.
There was a couple of Magic Beans t-shirts getting around and things, which was really, really blows my mind. It's super cool, but absolutely blows my mind to see that. So it was first thing we noticed was Plunksy. He was over by the food table when we walked in, and he had the same shirt on as you, Shorty, and it was like, oh, is that Shorty? No, Shorty's right next to me. Hang on, oh, that must be Plunks. There you go. So that was super fun, and there was a bunch of new faces that we got to meet people in person for the first time, and for me particularly, who's been part of the Magic community for so long, it was great to see some really old faces for the first time in literal years. To see people face to face. So it was great. It just cool. Paper Magic. It had that same vibe, that we had at large events like GP events, like you said. So it's back, baby. It's so good.
Yep. So yeah, we flew in on the Thursday. We spent myself and a few of the others spent all day Friday grinding in the LCQs, trying to qualify for the main event. None of us were successful. I think the only one from the Beans community who actually got in on the LCQs was Map, who I think took down the very last LCQ of the day, which
Asbestos Mule did as well, actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
Who's played in a few events with us before.
Yeah, from Adelaide, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my Friday. I know Cracker, you played in at least one. Chewy, you played in at least one.
I played a couple.
Yeah, I played in one, and then Highlandered for a bit, which was good.
So it was good fun. And then, we had the main event on the Saturday. So do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown on how that sort of panned out, Cracker?
The main event? Yep. Man, I mean, there were a lot of people. There was 170, I think, 165, something like that, people that were qualified for the main event. And it kind of went how you'd think, right? There was a lot of mono green and a lot of Rakdos. And it ended up coming down to being a Rakdos mirror in the finals with probably the 2 best players in Australia, I think, is a pretty reasonable thought. With, David Mines and Anthony Lee battling it out. And, in the Rakdos mirror, which was interesting. I was listening to Anthony's podcast this week, and he was saying that he was actually giving Minesy sideboarding tips.
Yeah, I did hear that today.
which was pretty hilarious for how the mirror played out.
Yeah,
but I think if we obviously spent a lot of time recently looking into Pioneer and understanding what the metagame was, and it felt like a really good representation of the metagame in terms of what was represented. Is that what you guys were thinking as well?
Yeah, it felt quite diverse.
Yeah, yes, it felt diverse, but not. I guess it felt diverse compared to standard, but not like it's a long way from actual Pioneer or Modern in its diversity. So it's at that in between. So I guess fittingly diverse. So I guess if I temper my expectations with those considerations in mind, it probably is diverse, but you think the format with a card pool this big would be, hopefully better, but better in its diversity. But, certainly at the top tables, there's a lot of the same archetype well represented with just a garnish, a sprinkling of some spice along the way. So, but, it's got its greens and it's got its meat and potatoes of Rakdos mid-range, but not a lot of other stuff, at least at the top tables, represented, which, it's there, but not in the numbers. But the grinders, the LCQs, a lot of diversity. They, people bought their deck, so to speak, and it was probably a little bit more diverse in the main event. But it was a distinct lack of Rakdos mid-range in the LCQs that I saw, at least. Maybe just was the way that pairings or the pods fired, I'm not sure. But in the main event, there was a lot of red-black mid-range. So it's interesting to see what people in the LCQs versus people in the main event played, how that differed.
Yeah, I remember walking along the sort of top 10, 15 tables at around, sort of round 5 type thing, and there was a lot of Rakdos decks kicking around those top tables. So I think the deck ended up having a nearly 54% win rate on the weekend. So certainly did well, whereas Mono Green was sub 50%. So I think the Rakdos decks had figured out a few sideboard tips and little tricks to use to switch that matchup into their favour, and it certainly showed on the weekend. And we ended up with 4 Rakdos mid-range in the top 8 with a couple of Mono Greens, a Lotus Field, and a Mono Blue Spirits. A Mono Blue Spirits player went 7-0. And
they crushed,
they just ID'd into the top 8. It was impressive. Very unexpected, because there wasn't a ton of Mono Blue Spirits kicking around in the tournament. So did we have any good finishes from the Beans in the main event?
So I'm just looking at the top things on Melee here. The highest rank person in our Discord was Matt, who went 5-2-1 with Mono White Humans. So congratulations, Matt. Had a pretty good weekend and managed to qualify through the LCQs, and I believe the very last LCQ on the Friday night, and went really, really well. So congratulations to Map. Had a feature match at one point, if I'm remembering correctly.
Against the winner, the eventual winner.
There you go.
Good to see. Took him down on camera. So started 5-0, which was pretty good, and then just unfortunately lost a couple and took a draw towards the end. So
he was the only person in the room to take a match off Anthony Lee. So that's not a bad achievement in and of itself, considering it's Anthony can magic and was the eventual winner. So well played, Matt.
Yeah, so the top 12 players from that all qualified for the upcoming Pro Tour in Philadelphia. And Anthony Lee qualifies for Worlds, which is pretty nuts.
Unreal. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. So we might give our thoughts on how we sort of think of that structure a little bit later on. But that was the main event. And the one other thing we were unsure sort of going into the event if there was going to be coverage. And we got there on the Friday, and lo and behold, there's ESL setting up a whole bunch of gear on the stage, and they had a full setup. It was pretty cool. Chris and I were both, sort of scouting out what they're setting up and what gear they're using and all that sort of stuff. And it's good to see where we're on the money with the gear that we're using for our streams. There's certainly not a huge difference between the levels of the gear. But they ran coverage all day Saturday and all day Sunday for the top 8 as well, with our old mate Wandering Bard providing his expertise and commentary throughout the day. So that was pretty cool to see, and good to see coverage of Australian events.
I did see Cracker fanboy out at one point because Riley Knight was in the room as well. So,
correct.
Yep.
100%.
Yep. It was.
He does a really good history podcast. I don't care. I'll tell people about it. he does a great history podcast, and I just went up and, told him I was a fan of his work. And
you didn't fanboy out. You just went up and said, "Hey, mate, I like your work," and he gave you a sticker. And
exactly,
that was kind of it. It was all very chill. I was just.
And then I do believe the very next day, Shorty did exactly the same thing after paying me out.
Yeah, of course. He gave me some stickers, and then I realised I need to have a way to track day and night for the standard games I was playing. So I got one of his half-assed history stickers and wrote day on one side of it, and then on the other side wrote night, but with a K.
Not bad. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So that was the main event, and then on the Sunday we had a 5K event. So this is something that you see a lot of in the States. SCG would always run their 5Ks and 10Ks and that sort of thing, but it's not something that we've ever seen here in Australia. Like, we would get the GPs, which had GP prizes, but that's basically it. Anything that the step down from that was just store level events where you might get
like PTQs and
players.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, and the prizes might be like $100 or something like that. And this was 5K with 1,500 and a 5K US as well, which is worth pointing out. I think it was 1,500 for first, and sort of went down to there. If you made top 16, you got like 150 US.
It's almost as much as the Magic Beans tournament series. Wow.
Yeah. It's it's about the same as our total tournament series.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. But it's really good to see that, and I think that you mentioned it, the prize money was in US. I think that was actually provided by Wizards.
It is,
yeah, as part of the structure. So, we rag on Wizards like a lot, and like they mostly deserve it. But I think this is a good thing that they're doing by having these big events, these big paper events, bring people back on the Sunday whilst the top eight's going on. I would have preferred it to be modern or something, not standard, but that's fine. But the prize support coming from Wizards for this and it being so substantial, I think is a really good thing. And if there's a winning formula here for competitive play, I think that is a really important ingredient.
Yeah, so I think the reason it was standard was it was actually used as a regional championship qualifier. So the top 16 from that event also qualified for the next regional championships, which is going to be in Melbourne on the first weekend of March in Melbourne, and that's basically like 3 or 4 days before my 40th birthday. So getting in there now, Beans community, big weekend in Melbourne, first weekend of March. 40th birthday for me. Come along. It's going to be stacks of fun. No idea what we're going to do, but we'll do something. We'll play games. It's going to be
cool.
Magic. There will be magic.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll play Magic.
I'm there. Done.
Done. Yep. So, you guys didn't play in that event. You decided to take the day off and chill back at the
I had a
pad.
nap. Oh, so good. So, Cracker, Polywaffle and I just jammed Commander, ate some lamb ribs for lunch, and then we just went out of sleep.
So good.
It was amazing.
Well, I got back and Chris was still asleep, and he eventually came
4 o'clock in the
strolling out. Like, oh, yep.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, so I played in that event. So did Matty P of Paulson, Infect Rules, whatever you want to call him, as well as a few others from the Beans community. I did not do very well. I started off the day well. I started with a 2-0 win, which was nice, and then went downhill from there. But there was just stacks of mid-range. We don't have all the deck lists because some people did submit their deck lists in paper, which actually Matty P accidentally got himself a game loss for losing his paper deck list. And then, actually his round one opponent in that was actually Penchair, and did not start his day well. But yeah, like every deck that I faced, like I faced Mono Blue to start, and then every deck after that was Grixis or Mardu or just some form of mid-range deck.
Esper.
And Esper, yep. It was just all mid-range soup and very long matches. I think every match I played either went to turns or was, finished within like 30 seconds of the timer running out. I wasn't playing a quick deck either, so there might be that to blame, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Actually, I really enjoyed it. So I played an Is It control deck, which I sort of spoke about on the last podcast, and yeah, the deck was actually really fun. It was really enjoyable. The matches I played, despite them being really long, were just super fun. Like really back and forth and sort of grinding it out, and one draw step can make a big difference, and going down to 3 life and then clawing your way back in and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was really cool, really enjoyable, and yeah, standard kind of actually seemed cool if you're into long grindy games. So it's going to be interesting to see what our Envy players come up with for next weekend.
Can we talk about the people who are sitting in 4th and 5th though?
Yeah, go for it.
Calvin Liu, also known as Penchair, who sitting top of the Envy standings, came in 4th. And then the illustrious sponsor, Pat, absolutely killed it and came in 5th.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yep. Well, yeah, Penchair's sitting on top of the Envy ladder for the Beans, has been basically the entire year. So also won one of our leagues.
Sure did.
So won one of our leagues, is on top of the ladder, came 48th in the main event on the Saturday, was already qualified for that, and then came 48th, and then, yeah, top 8's the 5K. So certainly just,
Look, I'm not a betting man, but...
But yeah, it was good to see Pat do really well, because he ground the LCQs on the Friday as well, and lost twice in the finals. So that was a little bit rough. But yeah, good to see a top 8 finish. And yeah, it means he's qualified for the Melbourne Regional Championship. So I'm assuming that means Pat will be in Melbourne for that as well. Which would be,
he better be.
Good to see.
Be awesome.
Yep. So yeah, that was after I'd lost a sufficient number of matches, that was kind of it for me. Went back to the house with you guys, and what did we do? We played Sealed, Time Spiral Remastered Sealed.
Yep. Which
was interesting. Chewy milled me out with his red-white aggressive deck. So that was that format, wasn't it, Chewy?
Yeah.
No, that was Pauper Cube, wasn't it?
No, that was the Time Spiral one. So Shorty had like removal.deck and I had creature.deck, and it turned out that like we had the exact number of removal spells to creatures, and I had the exact number of removal spells to threats, and Shorty drew more cards than me, and I won through milling.
Yeah, I think it was actually Pauper Cube.
That was Pauper Cube.
It was Pauper Cube.
Okay, playing Mono Black. Yep.
There you go.
Yep. All right. So,
but we cubed a couple of times. So.
We did. Yeah, we had a very, very good weekend. So, I guess just sort of like going round to you guys, opening the floor. Like, how did you find the weekend? What was your highlights? Like, start with you, Cracker. What did you think?
Oh man, I had a great time. One of my highlights was sitting down to write out my deck list for Abzan Greasefang, and then the first card I saw was Lotus Field because I grabbed the wrong deck. So
also one of my highlights of the weekend this moment. Yeah.
Yes, that was very good.
I had a blast. Like, people keep asking, "Oh, did you win?" I'm like, well, look, let's not ask rude questions. I had a lot of fun, and I did. Like, playing competitive Magic again, like just some tight games and stuff. We played 5-round Modern event on the Saturday, which was just fun, man. I just loved it. It's one of those things where you don't realize kind of how much you've missed doing those things in a room with all those people until you get back into it. So yeah, man, it was unreal.
What did you play in Modern?
Murktide.
Nice.
Was what I brought.
Yep.
Modern's hard.
Yes, it is.
Modern is just hard. Like,
the big thing I noticed from like playing Pioneer on the Friday to Modern on the Saturday was the shuffling. Man, you shuffle a lot in Modern.
Much.
Oh, it's insane.
It's nuts.
Yeah. I'm playing a deck with 8 fetch lands, and it's you just every turn you just shuffle.
4 expedition maps. Opponent. I don't know what you're complaining about.
Exactly.
I was going to say you got Sylvan's Crying, but no, you don't. That's wrong. Wrong Tron list.
Wrong Tron.
Yep.
Yep. One of my highlights, Shorty, you kind of touched on, about being in the room. I loved playing Modern was great, and in between our rounds, how'd you do? What happened? Oh, this happened. This was this great play. But then the people that we were invested in. There was Rolling Royce, and there was Map, and there was Isaac, and there was Penchair, and a bunch of other people that, you know, we were hoping did well in the main event. You know, we'd go and find them, and sometimes it was just to like catch their eye across the room with a thumbs up and thumbs down, and you know, you get the thumbs up and you like give them a little fist pump, and I think Map actually said that, you know, he appreciated the encouragement over the weekend as well. So I loved that, you know, kind of riding that wave with them a little bit. In between rounds, like I love having an actual opponent sat across the table from me, and I love the tangible dexterity experience that you get with Paper Magic. But what it really is the stuff before round one and in between the rounds. That's where I get my most enjoyment out of these events, because, you know, win, lose, or Polywaffle inevitably going to time, you're invested in each other as much as your own results, and I really enjoy that. It was, you know, it's the gathering. You know, it's a big, that itself's become a little bit cliche, but you know, within the broader thing, we've got our own little community now, and that, you know, the people side of it, and you know, it's Plunksy and Royce, and you know, some new faces that we met, and like people like Damon and Curtis the Greek came for a draft, and you know, hanging out with those people, you know, in real life, it's like, oh, this is magic. This is like, gameplay is actually secondary to the, you know, the time and the people that you meet. So it's so good.
And the really good thing about doing that is they're all much better than us. So you feel like you've had a winning record because you're cheering on people who are winning, even though you don't have to do it. It's great.
Oh, we were claiming every win.
Yeah, correct.
Every win. Yeah. They're Beans wins, 100%.
One for the Beans. Yeah. Thank you. Take that. Another one for the Beans. All right, good. We're on 2.
Yeah, we're doing well.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely. What about you, Shorty? What was your highlight for the weekend?
Yeah, it's the same as you guys. Like, just meeting people, like I said, didn't expect so many people from our community to be there. That was just insane. And you know, we had people like Yanray, who hasn't been very active in our Discord for a while, but is an old, you know, OG Beans League player sort of thing. And I'm walking down an aisle to go and register for a side event, and this person kind of like walks towards me, and then as we like cross paths, we both look at each other in like recognition of, I know you. And I'm looking at him going, I've put your profile picture into Bean's streams before.
Yes.
And he's going, I've seen you on stream. And I was like, oh, yeah, Ray, how's it going? And yeah, just like complete surprise to sort of see someone unexpected and someone that we recognise. But yeah, just having the same conversation with opponents all weekend. Like, I had amazing opponents all weekend, no issues with anyone, but you know, they'd see, you know, the Beans mat and the Beans t-shirts and that sort of thing, and you know, they ask questions, and you know, we spruik ourselves, all that sort of thing, as we always do. But you know, they ask people, you know, how's your weekend been? Have you been winning? All that sort of stuff. And if for every opponent, it was always the same response for me, where it's, I'm playing Magic, I'm away for a weekend, just having fun. It doesn't really matter if I'm winning or losing. Like,
well, that is winning.
I'm just having a good time. And yeah, the difference of sitting down across from an opponent and getting to talk to them, and you know, sharing. There's a lot of moments that you get in Magic where something funny happens, or you know, they top deck the right answer, or you do the right thing, or you know, I had a match where I had like 4 turns in a row where my opponent had lethal on the board, and I just kept finding an answer to keep myself alive, and we're just laughing and having a good time about how hilarious it is that I'm completely dead. I've got no chance of winning, but I'm just like, just surviving, and that sort of shared experience that you get from playing in paper with somebody is something that we've just missed so much of on Arena. As good as Arena is to play, you just don't get that. And
I love the post-game debrief as well. You know, the showing what you sideboarded in, and like asking your opponent what they thought about that plan and what they brought in against you, and just like, you know, like all the chat afterwards where you kind of just get into like the nitty-gritty of the game, and then, you know, like you just learn stuff, and like you play someone in, you know, like the Friday, and you know, you win or lose, and then you see them the next day, and it's like, oh, you know, you play them again, or you hang out, and like you just it's those kind of weekend mates you make that you'll probably see again at some point in the future, which is, that's the best bet for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd someone named a Melbourne player named JD, and they were in the queue at the same time for some side events on the Friday, and then we just kept bumping into each other in queues, or we would play against each other, or be sort of sitting near each other in LC queues. And then, they played in the modern event on the Saturday as well, and then played in the standard event, and we actually played against each other in the standard event, and it was like, we just keep bumping into each other, and, how have you gone, and how'd you go with this deck, and whatever, and just those little bonds that you create through a weekend because you're all in there for the same experience and the same reason. It's very cool, and it's something that from the outside or when you haven't had that for a while, you kind of forget that that's what makes the gathering part of the Magic the Gathering so special. So that was awesome. Had an absolute blast and all that. Yeah. So what decks did we end up playing? So Chewy, you played Pioneer a little bit on the Friday and then played Highlander. What was your Pioneer deck?
Gruul vehicles. Like the Gruul shell, but you gotta have the boat. It's not if the boat's in the format, you got to play the boat. Is what I'm learning. And then
from Plunksy.
Yeah, exactly. And I played some Enchantress in Highlander. Didn't go so well, but yeah,
we do have a few Highlander fans out there. So what does that involve? Because I know nothing about Highlander.
Okay, so Enchantress, a Gethian Enchantress. Whenever you play an enchantment, you draw a card. There's a whole bunch of those effects been printed in Magic. There's a few cost reducers such as Jukai Naturalist and Starfield Mystic. And then what you do, so you get some of those into play with a payoff. So the Sigil of the Empty Throne or whatever it's called, that makes angels. There's Hallowed Haunting. There's the dude that makes 2/2 Pegasi. And then you get your Academy Rector and you get him dead, which you've got a couple of ways to do, or your opponent can also kill them. And you go and get Omniscience. And then you can cast all of your enchantments for free. And whenever you cast an enchantment, you draw a card or 2 cards or 3 cards. And then every time you do that, you create a spirit or an angel or a Pegasus or a combination of. And then you just kill your opponent that way. So like a mid-rangey deck that has a big combo finish. Pretty good against creature-based strategies. Against, turn 3 Thassa's Oracle combo, it's not so great, but that's Highlander. But yeah, basically I wanted to play it because for my birthday last year, all the beans chipped in and got me a Serra's Sanctum, which, a land that taps for white for every enchantment. And I wanted to play it, so that seemed like a good reason. So I sleeved it up and jammed some of that, which was pretty cool. So that was my Friday.
Yep, nice. And then Saturday you played Eldrazi Tron, which you've been playing for... Yeah. Feels like forever now.
Yeah, well, since KCI was banned, basically, so it has been a little while. So, I always enjoyed playing Tron. It's been, I've been playing the same mismatched art, whiteboarded Tron lands forever. I've never added anything out of what I bought from Card Heaven back in the day. And I felt like the wins that I got, the games that I won were sort of hard fought, which tells me that, it's back to being that 50-50 deck. It's not like a good deck anymore, but I just love it. And Chalice on 1 is still a very, very powerful effect in Modern. And my highlight of the Modern event was playing against Infect rules against Paulson, and the 2 games I won in our round, I was on 9 Infect before I managed to close it out. So I was sweating. I was like legitimately sweating. I was worried. I was just like, I think I play better against Paulson than I play against anybody else. Like I seem to pull out all the stops, and he brings out the best in me in that sense. So they were really, really tight games and came down to literally 1 point of damage in 2 games before I was able to lock him out, and his army of small creatures and my 6/6 ballista got the job done. So it was pretty good. Nice. I enjoyed that a lot. And then on the Sunday, didn't even go to the event, just played Highlander, played Commander and drafted all day. So yeah, it's all upside from me.
Yep. And Cracker, so you said you played Lotus Field accidentally.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, fortunately, it had been a thing that I'd been practicing, so it wasn't like, I was kind of umming and ahhing backwards and forwards between that and Greasefang, and I was like, if I'm going to play a bunch of rounds, then I probably don't want to play the super complicated combo deck. And then I was moving a deck into the Magic Beans deck box so I could have another Magic Beans thing, and I just grabbed the wrong one. Whoops. But yeah, no, I had a good time. And then, in Modern, played Murktide, which super strong. There's a million different ways you can build it. And had some really tight matches, just some really good games. Couple of blowouts, that just happens. Sometimes you just get to play a bunch of DRCs and baubles and get people dead really fast, and sometimes that just doesn't happen. You get killed by rhinos and 2-mana 4/4s from Sign of Dracons and Dracos and stuff like that. Like, so there's a bunch of just wild stuff going on in Modern. It seems like a lot of fun, and I'm sure it would have been one of those things where, we haven't played Modern in forever, so like format knowledge is not at the highest, which it's probably not the most winning proposition, but again, like I was just happy to battle. Like I just had a great time.
Yeah, Modern's always fun.
Yeah. What about you, Shorty? What did you bring?
So I ended up playing the Is It Creativity in all of the LCQs on the Friday. I think I ended up playing in 4 or maybe 5. I can't even remember. It was a lot, and the deck was a lot of fun. There was quite a bit of play to it, and you just had turns where it's like, yep, I'm just going to untap here, and you're just going to cop a 30-30 trample haste to the face and whatever. Had some horrible luck with timing, drawing the either the Xenagos or the Worldspine Worm on exactly the turn that I wanted to go off, so that was a little bit annoying, but it did reasonably well. Got through to like the 3rd round of an LCQ and the 2nd round a couple of times, so it was good fun. And then, on the Saturday, played in Modern, played the Is It Prowess list that I've been talking about, and that was stacks fun. It was a really cool deck, but again, same as you said, Cracker, format knowledge and lack of experience and play and all that sort of thing certainly took its toll, made a few small mistakes. But that deck, same as what you were saying about just killing people real quick with DRCs, there'd be turns where it's like, I've got, a Swift Spear and a couple of DRC and a Soulscar Mage on the battlefield, just some 1/2s and 1/1s and that sort of thing, and then it's just like
nothing
untap.
To see here.
Yep. Just cast a bunch of spells, flashback lava darts and whatever from your graveyard, and just kill them from like 15 in one turn. So
we had a practice game, Shorty, and you had like a DRC and a Soulscar out, or a Swift Spear, I can't remember which one, and I went Chalice on 1.
Yep.
And it just didn't matter. Like, you're like, okay, no. I'm casting my spells, they're getting countered, but I'm getting the triggers, and I'm just like killing you with damage. Like,
exactly.
It's it's not the I win button like it used to be, but it's there's so much value. There's so many triggers that you get, like particularly like Lava Dart. It's not about the damage that you get from Lava Dart. It's about the triggers that you get. So it's a sum of the parts rather than the individually powerful.
Yeah, it allows you to spectacle, light up the stage and things like that, which, works really well. So, and then obviously, Mishra's Bauble and things, which is free spells and mutagenic growths and Metamorphose, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's not hard to cast a bunch of spells all in the same turn and just kill people quick. So that was good fun. Really enjoyed that. And then, the Sunday standard, the Is It control list that I've been playing, that I'm still playing it on Arena. I'm tinkering with it a bit more and sort of fine-tuning it, because I've been playing a little bit of Mono Red this week, and Mono, you just cannot win games of Mono Red. It's like...
too much mid-range.
There's too many Shieldreds.
You think you can't beat Shieldred, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, like, you just have no answer when a Shieldred comes down. It's not fun. So, stick with the controller mid-range and standard at the moment, because that seems to be the way it's going. But, that was sort of the decks we played. And then we did a bunch of cubing, as we've said a few times. So, the Friday night, we vintage cubed. So, Chris brought up his vintage cube. We had a few Beans community people come over, and we drafted that. And I stuck to my theme for the weekend and drafted Is It. I got pretty lucky in pack 1 pick 1ing Splinter Twin, and then pack 2 opening Deceiver Exarch. So I was like, oh, yep, I'm off to the races here. And then I think you passed Chewy a Pestamite to me a couple of picks later. So
pick 7 or 8 or something. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I was pretty happy with that. So yeah, I had a pretty sweet Is It deck, and 3-0'd the Vintage Cube. What did you draft in that one, Chew?
The Wildfire.
Yeah, that's right.
So I had a I was going to say Evacuation. No, what's the 6 mana thing?
Upheaval?
Upheaval, yeah. Had Upheaval. Unfortunately, in pack 3, I was sweating on getting a copy of Wildfire, and Burning of Xinyi and Wildfire were in the same pack. And you cut me off, Shorty. So I only had one Wildfire.
Well, the burning came round. There was 2 cards left in the pack, and one of them was burning, and one was something else. And I went, I think Chewy might be drafting this deck, so I'm just going to keep this burning.
Yeah, it hurts me.
I see the other card.
I just want my 6 mana sorceries. Come on, just want to play some fair magic. I think I ended up going 1-2. Got mana screwed a couple of times, and got just outpowered by the power of Vintage Cube along the way. But it's super fun. I love that archetype, and Cube's the only place that's really viable. So it was just fun to do that. Just a lot of mana rocks. I think I had Armageddon, Upheaval, and Wildfire. So, and then just a bunch of things that worked well in that, and a bunch of mana rocks. So.
Yeah,
it was great. I had a mana drain as well, but it was good. I loved it. Vintage Cube is always good, and my favorite thing when you Vintage Cube is just looking at the faces of the people that are Vintage Cubing for the first time when they open their first pack. So for Royce and Plunksy, who cubed with us that night, their facial expressions and some of the sounds coming out of them was hilarious, because they were seeing some of these cards for the first time, and they even know, even though they're only collector edition pieces of power, I think it was the first time they'd played with power. So
they're still worth a lot of money.
They're still worth only collector's edition, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I love that. Like, Cube Virgins are my favorite. That's great.
Yeah. I know you took the Vintage Cube home, and I know you were very nervous with Chris.
I told him it was like I was looking suitcase. After. It's like, I think I'd feel less responsibility looking after one of his kids, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's that was a tense moment. And when I saw my bag come out of the carousel, like, Cracker was already there. His flight was slightly earlier than mine. There was a little look of okay, I can
relief.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like that when Chris was waiting for his bag to come around as well, because he and Matt came up on the same flight, and Matt's bag was already there, and when it's like, oh please. Where is this thing?
Yeah, that's rough. And because I moved to the hills, I then had to just sell it at the airport to afford a taxi home. So, you just gonna have to build another cube, Chris. I'm sorry.
Yep. You sold it for $200.
$250. Yeah.
It's about what it's worth.
Managed to get Macca's drive-through and a cab ride home, so it was all right.
I'm pretty sure the box is worth that it's in is worth more than that.
Just the Cubamajigs or something, yeah.
Custom made, fancy box with the inlaid pieces of timber and whatever.
It's so pretty.
Doesn't look cheap. Yep. Cracker, did you draft Reanimator, or
nope?
Did you you went off brand?
Pat drafted Reanimator and had a very good deck, but no, I drafted Storm.
Ooh, okay.
Because it was open.
Yep.
Because it's bad. And I had a great time.
It's bad unless you get all the pieces.
It's true. And even still then, sometimes it's just bad. But no, I had High Tide Palinchron was my main thing.
That's right.
So
you and I played,
you kind of you go infinite with that. You can untap all your lands and you make an infinite amount of mana, infinite storm, and then hopefully you have Tendrils in hand. Otherwise, you just make infinite mana and go,
your turn.
Do you concede?
Do the LSV trick.
Didn't work, Shorty. You didn't concede.
No, I had the dismember in hand for your Ballancroft.
That's true. But yeah, it was heaps of fun. I think I went 2-1 with it, actually. I think I lost to you in the finals of that.
Yes, yeah, you did.
It was but yeah, that was sweet. And then we drafted Pauper Cube as well.
Yep.
Which was cool because I think I've drafted your cube once before, maybe.
Yeah, we haven't drafted it many times. I know we've drafted a couple of times. We've sealed it a couple of times, I think.
We did, yep.
But yeah, definitely need some updating. There's a bunch of new stuff that we can put in there. But yeah, it was good fun, and yeah, we actually streamed the cubes that we did as well. So we took up a basic stream setup, one camera and some basic gear and the mics and that sort of thing. And yeah, we fired off the stream on the Friday night with the draft, and some game. I had set the camera up as an overhead camera and had the gameplay on and all that sort of thing. And then yeah, did the same thing. Made a few improvements to the stream on the Saturday, and did the same for the Pauper Cube. So that was really cool, and it was a good proof of concept that we can take a basic setup with us remotely and still get something going. So if you're interested to see how they went, go and check them out.
It was great to have like a mini feature match as well for our events as well. I really enjoyed that.
Yep. Yeah, cool. All right, so I guess just sort of like general thoughts on the weekend in terms of the structure of the event, the side events, all that sort of thing, and then also sort of how that ties into pro play, and the current structure that we've got set up in terms of getting to the Pro Tour and getting to Worlds and all that sort of stuff. So, Chewy, you want to give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll start with the negative and then I'll go to the positive. So, I got a couple of positives. So, honourable mentions, the cans of Coke and bottles of water being $2 each, real positive.
Yeah, that was so surprising.
Yeah, great. But $15 for a sandwich that had chicken on it that was not refrigerated, sat on the table for 4 hours. You could do better there. But the beverages were a really pleasant surprise. So good job there. The main negative that I had was the prizes for the Highlander event didn't scale with the number of entrants. So there ended up being 51 people enter Highlander, which just shows how popular that format is. And people that finished 9th didn't get any prizes out of 51 people. So it was just, literally breakers meant that you got, and it was $50 to enter, right? So they could have adjusted prizes based on the amount of people there and been a little more generous, because I think the number of entrants probably exceeded their expectations, and yeah, it's not unreasonable to expect the prizes to scale. That being said, I think everything else went okay. Some of the LCQs on Friday were a little slow to fire. There was a little bit of logistics and things, but I'm going to give them a pass in this time because this is the first large scale Magic event in some time, and the first one of this ilk. So working things out, not everything's going to be perfect the first time round, and they had a lot to organise and a very small space to do it in. I think the event space, the hall, the Marrickville Town Hall, it's fair to say it was at capacity. So they probably had more to do than they were anticipating. It was a bit slow, but all in all things considered, I think the TOs and particularly the judges that kept us all in line. And it always, you can have a completely garbage TO, but if you've got a great judge, things run really well. And all the judges we had were, as always, awesome. And although I got stabbed in the ribs with a pen by one of them a couple of times, but yeah, I think that overall the event was you give them a pass. I'm not saying it was run amazingly and, it should be the model, but it wasn't a complete train wreck either. So, a pass mark on that, and, they'll get better, as more events like this go on. So that's kind of my soapbox 5 minutes for my thoughts on the event. What do you guys, are you in furious disagreement, or do you think I think they
did a better job than you're giving them credit for.
Okay.
I actually think it ran really smoothly. Like, there were a couple of delays, but as like each day got on, everything kind of just seemed to go better.
Maybe I got off on the wrong foot because
frustrated people or whatever. Like, I think it just like there were a lot of people grinding LCQs. There was probably, what do you guys reckon, 70?
70
yeah, it was way more than we expected, which is probably way more than they expected.
So given the volume of people, I think that they fired those really quickly and actually did a good job. There were delays, but that was just like, I think they just didn't have judges and people needed to take lunches and stuff like that. So
maybe I got off on the wrong foot and had a bitter taste because like I lined up for like 20 minutes and got to the end and they were like, oh no, you've got to go pay first. And it was like, oh, that's
true. There was no signage. That was dumb.
A4 folded piece of paper on the desk saying pay here first that you couldn't see until you got to the front of the queue.
That's true, but they did just let us jump back in
they did,
after we'd done that. So like they handled it pretty well,
did.
Considering.
They did because they saw that they were going to have a small angry man on their hands. But it's a... You know, things like that, like simple signage and that sort of stuff. Or the PA system wasn't clear at all, but it's...
they never are.
They never are, but yeah.
it's just like a train station full of people.
Yeah. I think the whole thing was interesting. As far as how it like leads into pro play, I don't know. It's a different system and it's the first time we're seeing it. I think it's awesome that we had like qualifications straight through to Worlds. I think it's cool that you got like a bunch of people into the next RC. I don't know though, because you still just get like the one shot a year, which I guess is not super different for Australia than we used to get, where you'd have like the one GP, you just kind of had to spike it. But
well, I think we're actually going to get 3 of these a year now.
Well, that's cool. So in that case, it's just going to be strictly better for us, right?
Yeah, you just it's at least 2 a year. I think it's 3.
Is that Australia and New Zealand or just Australia?
Yeah. Australia and New Zealand.
That is the region.
Yeah, that's our region. Yep.
But, I mean, maybe they do one in New Zealand, but I think the majority will be here, given the population difference.
Yeah, I think Good Games said that they'll be running them in Melbourne and Sydney, alternating going forward. Actually, no, I think it was going to be every second one was in Sydney, and then the other ones were going to alternate between Melbourne and Brisbane or something like that.
Sure.
Until they, sort of see
which
how
is totally fair. Totally fine.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's probably the most reasonable way to do it. I'm sorry, New Zealand, it's a beautiful country, but you've got like 4 million people in total. So
you've got about 50 Magic players.
Yeah. I mean, they're good, Peachel.
Yep.
Come on, mate.
Or Autolycus in the Envy.
Yeah. So plenty. Anyway, I think it was good. I think it was well run. Like the coverage was a real surprise, and I think they did a pretty good job. ESL always puts on a pretty decent show. So yeah, I'm about it, man. I'm definitely keen to see how it runs down here in Melbourne.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
What do you think?
I just realized I had a highlight that I wanted to bring up before I give you my thoughts, which was with Rolling Royce. We met him for the first time. His surprise. I remember we were sitting there playing a game, and he was like, I can't wrap my head around it, Shorty. Like, I thought you were going to be taller.
Funny, man.
And he was like genuinely shocked that I was shorter than he expected. And like, I'm not actually that short. Like, I'm only just shorter than you, Chewy, I think. But I'm not really that short. But somehow he had in his head
a few inches on you, champion. Come on.
Yeah, okay, yeah, a few inches around the waist.
Oh.
Yeah, but he genuinely thought that like the nickname was ironic or something, and that I was going to be like tall or whatever, and yeah, like just the bewilderment on his face was great. That was hilarious. Anyway, my thoughts on the weekend. I thought they did quite a good job with like we spoke to, what's his name, Glenn Doyle. That's the guy who runs it, and he was sort of saying that they didn't know what to expect. This is the first big event that we've had in Australia for 3 years, effectively, and they didn't know what the turnout was going to be like, and how many people would come for side events and all that sort of stuff, and so they were very surprised with how many people showed up, which was good. The Sunday, which you guys missed out on, the hall was definitely sparse of people. Like, there was only 68, I think, in the standard event. There was the top 8 playing, and there was like a couple of random side events sort of going on. So there was nowhere near as many people there on the Sunday, which I think they probably would have been a bit disappointed at, especially with the 5K on offer from that. But yeah, I think they did well, and there was definitely areas that they can improve on, and which we will see going forward. But yeah, I think the big thing for me is the path that this actually sets out for pro plays is actually, I find it way better than the old system. So like the old system was horrible for us here in Australia. Because we only had one GP a year, you had to play in that and effectively spike it to even have any chance of getting anywhere, like having any chance of getting on the Pro Tour. Like it just didn't exist, the chances to do that. It was so small and so hard to do. Whereas now we've got a system for the grinders who want to play tournaments every week. You know, all the regional championship qualifiers, they're on pretty much every weekend or every second weekend, that sort of thing. So you got people that can play every weekend have got that. And for us, if we happen to have a spare weekend, we can go and play in those things if we want. But then that feeds into a big, large event like this, which is effectively a GP. Like, I got the same sort of vibes from this as a GP. It wasn't as big as the last GPs that we went to, but same sort of feel, and having that last chance qualifier thing that you can do on the Friday. You know, you've got a chance for the people like us who don't get out to play very often. We can just go, all right, I'm just committing my Friday to grinding these LCQs, and if I make it, awesome. And it's you know, effectively like 4 or 5 more chances of getting into the main event. And in the main event, qualifying, you know, top 12 or top 8 or whatever it is happens to be at the time, straight through to the Pro Tour, like, that's awesome. That's a bunch of qualifications. Whereas previously, I think you had to actually win the GP to get to the
top 8. Top 8 qualified. It used to be top 16, then it was top 8. And then there was also like your regular scheduled PTQs, which we had a handful of. But are those numbers going to adjust once they've got things seeded? Because this is about actually filling it up, right?
Yeah, it will be top 8 going forward. This time it was top 12, and that was the extra 4 was to sort of fill up the slots. So it will be top 8 going forward.
And what about the Worlds invite? Is that going to remain?
Yeah, that will stay. And so that's the other big thing. It's like you've got, you know, in this case it was top 12 gets you to the Pro Tour. Awesome. If you win, it's not just, yep, awesome, I earn some cash and I get to the Pro Tour. You go straight to Worlds, which is huge. So it gives you these extra incentives to play and try and do well and all that sort of thing. And then having the Sunday event qualifying you for the next one and all that sort of stuff. From my point of view, it just gives players of all commitment levels, I guess, an opportunity to achieve what, you know, like you've done once, Chewy, but the rest of us would love to do once, which is actually get to the Pro Tour. And whereas previously my odds of getting to the Pro Tour were basically 0, now it's like, oh, I actually have a reasonable shot.
It's now less than 0. Yeah. No, sorry, now greater than 0.
More than 0?
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Oh, wow.
Freudian slip there.
Oh, man.
No, it's that's what you get for calling me fat. It's but you're right, like it's now obtainable, and considering we've just like come out of the darker wastes of absolutely zero pro play for like literal years, to have something now, we looked at it and we went, okay, it's a structure. It looks like it could work. And now having actually experienced it and seen things, it looks like it's pretty good. Like I like it. The dream is there again, like to get back on. And I know, you know, yes, like 15 years ago, I qualified one time, but like I've got that desire starting to like burn again to do that. So, and now I've got a structure that I can actually engage with and do. So I'm right there with you, Shorty. I think this is a good thing.
Yep, I think it's just really cool to have a path that is there that is attainable for people of all commitment levels, whether you're a weekly grinder or you can only play once every few months or even twice a year or whatever, like us seems to be the case. And there is a path that is there that is actually achievable. And I think the other big thing that sort of rang for me this weekend was seeing the Anthony Lees and the David Mines and, you know, Isaac, Egan and those sorts of, you know, the really top well-known players that have played multiple PTs, you know, like Ollie Ox was there as well, like those sorts of people that have been bronze and silver and gold level pros in the past. They were all there for this event, which signals to me that they see this as their path as well back onto the Pro Tour and that sort of thing. And so when you're running events where those level of players are wanting to get involved, that's a really good sign that your system looks good and looks sustainable. So I'm assuming that they'll make tweaks to it over the years and make little changes. And I think they need to in different regions they need to adjust the qualifying numbers and those sorts of things based on the regions. But yeah, I sort of look at this and go, well, the last GP that we played in was 400 or 500 players, and yeah, you had to top 8 to get on the Pro Tour, whereas this was 150 players. The odds are a lot better to actually make it. So yeah, it's cool. I'm excited, and I'm hanging for the one in March. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't think we'll probably get a chance to play a regional qualifier between now and then, but yeah, we'll just grind the LCQs again and see how we go. So very cool. The last little thing I wanted to touch on, I guess, probably mostly Pioneer based, but do we think there will be any bannings based on what we've seen from? We've had a bunch of regional championships now. Obviously, Rakdos and Mono Green seem to be the two top decks. Do we think we're going to see a banning, Cracker?
No. I think we should, but I don't think we will.
Okay. Chewy, you reckon?
I think we would need to find out what the formats are for Worlds, and they may, in the months leading up to
Worlds is Pioneer and Draft, apparently.
Okay, then we may do...
that's the PT. I don't know what Worlds is. The PT is going to be Pioneer and Draft.
So maybe after the PT, if they want to have a more diverse metagame for Worlds. That's the only way I could see it. I don't think we need one right now. I don't think we'll get one right now. The format would benefit from one now, probably, but I can't see it happening. But I think as we get towards the World Championships, they'll start really looking at it.
Ban Khan.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see a Khan ban. Just from a gameplay perspective, it is pretty horrible, and it's just getting stronger and stronger especially with all the artifact sets coming out. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that, and I wouldn't be surprised to see just something out of either black or red go just to take that mid-range deck down a notch. But
yeah, but what do you ban out of that? Because all the cards are so replaceable. Like, that's the thing.
Ban Sheoldred in all formats, please.
Yeah. This is the mono red play. I mean, like, Nykthos is clearly...
Not that bad, man. Anyway.
Nykthos is clearly the broken card, but I don't think they're going to want to ban that.
No, that's a pillar of the format, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but they've banned other pillars out, so, like, it's not beyond
just gave out all the promos for it.
Ban the troll, and that powers
no.
down
You need to You need to ban Khan, because Khan is your combo engine, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing about it. Like, if it becomes just a straight, like, ramp beatdown deck, then you can plan for it. But it's the fact that it just pivots into this stupid Planeswalker control combo win strategy.
Yeah,
it's just this stupid weird win combo that, is fetching an exiled artifacts, because that's what Khan's ability does, and you chain veil. It's dumb. Ban Khan, I think, is the correct thing. And the metagame, even though like green didn't do very well, it's because everyone was gunning for it, because it is the best deck. And I think that's why it was kept down, not because
it's bad.
No, 100% not that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, we'll see. Like, they were pretty quick on the bannings with Pioneer when the format first started, and they'd said that was their intention, to be pretty free with their bannings,
to start with, weren't they?
But then they've, Pioneer kind of died, and they've dropped right off from that. So I think it'd be good for them to do a bit of a shake-up and, make the format interesting. But we'll have to see. All right, last thing on the way out the door is a reminder about the Invy. So the 2022 Magic Beans Invitational is on next weekend. Yeah, that's correct. Yep. Saturday, the 10th of December. And the stream will be firing up at 10:30 a.m. So we've got 16 players that have qualified after playing through all our events through the year. Various league winners, our returning champion Jedi's Walker, a couple of players that have played in all the Envy so far in Hemsey and Tom D. And we'll be watching all the action from that. It's going to be a long stream. We're covering more than we usually do from the league finals. So strap in for a long day. No Chris, so I'm pushing buttons all day, which is going to be fun. But we're going to give away over $3,000 in cash and prizes on the day, on top of all the prizes that these players have already received throughout the year. So that's pretty sweet. And of course, we're going to have a ton of giveaways. I received a nice box of goodies from Pat just before we headed up to Sydney, and got got lots of good things to give away. So make sure you have that in your calendar. Come and tune in throughout the day and watch all the action. Cheer on your favourite player from your league group or whatever through the year, and get in on the giveaways. So Saturday, 10th of December, 10:30 a.m. And that's going to do us for this week. So the usual reminders on the way out the door. I'm just going to make it short. Go to magicbeanscast.com and you'll find links for everything. Josh and Pat's, Discord, merch store, all that sort of stuff. It's all at magicbeanscast.com. So go and check that out. And if you would like to chat with me at all, you can find me on Twitter. I am at PSync. Chewy, you are?
At ChewyMTG.
And Cracker?
At JoelHill_.
Very good. So that's it for this week. Thank you as always for listening. Stay safe out there and we will see you all next time.